Hey everyone, and welcome. We're doing a deep dive today into something that's maybe not as dry as it sounds. We're tackling online privacy.
Yeah.
And I think you guys, by being here, you're already kind of ahead of the game
Mm-hmm.
because you realize that the internet, it's great,
Yeah.
but it's not exactly known for keeping secrets.
No.
So we're going to go way past the basics with you today. Think of this as like a boot camp for your online life.
Okay.
And we're going to be using your copy of Tech Talk Nexus as
Okay.
our training manual. Get ready to become like privacy pros by the end of this.
Yeah, you're gonna go from newbies to like total pros.
Total pros. Okay.
We
So,
got it.
it's not just posting selfies anymore.
Right. It's not just Facebook, right? This is everything. It's your banking, your shopping.
Yeah.
Even if you're just, grabbing a coffee using public Wi-Fi, Tech Talk Nexus really hammers this home. All that data is valuable, and not just to you.
Okay. So you're saying public Wi-Fi is basically a free-for-all for like anybody who wants to snoop on what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I guess no more emails at the cafe for me.
Yeah, I mean, I would be really careful with that, especially if you're not
Yeah.
using any kind of protection. And that's where a VPN can really come in handy, which Tech Talk Nexus talks about.
Okay. Yeah. They did mention VPNs being like the solution.
Yeah,
I'll admit, it's always seemed like kind of like magic to me.
yeah.
Like, how does that even work?
Think of it less as magic and more like if you're sending a secret message, right?
Okay, yeah.
A VPN is like sending that message in a coded box. So your internet provider, they might see the box going back and forth, but they have no idea what's inside. Okay. And Tech Talk Nexus really gets into that, how that works. It's called encryption.
Okay, hold on. Encryption, before we get too far, can we back up?
Oh, sure.
Give me, like, the encryption for dummies explanation.
You got it. Imagine you're taking all your data and turning it into a jigsaw puzzle, but only the right key can unlock it.
Okay.
Right. So that's kind of what encryption is doing. The VPN is scrambling all your data so that if anybody's listening in without that key, it just looks like gibberish.
So even if somebody's, like, trying to intercept my data, they can't do anything with it unless they have that key.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better about online banking. But I know, even with VPNs, Tech Talk Nexus mentioned that not all VPNs are created equal.
Right. Exactly. It's kind of like, if you think about choosing a lock for that box that we were just talking about, okay?
Yeah.
Some locks are going to be a lot more flimsy and some are going to be Fort Knox, right?
Yeah.
Some are really prioritizing speed, some are prioritizing privacy, and Tech Talk Nexus actually breaks that down really well in terms of like the trade-offs.
So depending on what you're doing online, you might choose a different VPN.
Yeah.
Like maybe if I'm doing my online banking, I want the Fort Knox.
Right.
But if I'm just, streaming a movie, maybe I can go with something a little faster.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all about finding the right balance for your needs. And you know what? I thought they made a really good point about, especially for newbies, NordVPN and ExpressVPN are good all-rounders.
Okay, those are going straight on my to-do list.
Yeah, for sure.
But, even with a VPN, sometimes online security feels like, a never-ending game of whack-a-mole.
What about passwords? I swear I spend like half my life just resetting passwords.
Oh, tell me about it. Tech Talk Nexus actually calls passwords like the weakest link in online security for a reason, and they go into this whole thing about password hygiene. Have you heard of this?
Password hygiene. Okay.
Yeah. It sounds a little weird, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's this idea that we need to have really strong and unique passwords, and it's not just about making them long and complicated either.
But see, that's the thing, right? That's always been the issue. I mean, you're supposed to have these crazy long passwords with like 16 characters and
Right.
random symbols.
Right.
And I'm supposed to remember like a dozen of them. It's just, it feels impossible. It feels like a recipe for a brain aneurysm.
I feel ya. And that's why Tech Talk Nexus talks about password managers as a solution. Okay, so walk me through this. Password managers, are those like digital vaults where I can keep all these impossible to remember passwords safe?
Yes, exactly. They're like digital vaults and they generate these super strong passwords for all your accounts. You don't have to.
Okay.
But here's the thing, and this is where they're really smart. You only need to remember one password,
Cool.
and that's called a master password, and it unlocks the entire vault.
So it's like one password to rule them all.
You got it.
Okay, that's much more manageable. I can handle that.
Mhm.
But how do I know? How do I know my passwords are actually safe tucked away in this vault?
That's where friend encryption comes back in.
Oh, okay.
Remember our jigsaw puzzle?
Yes.
It's like that, but even stronger. So password managers use even stronger encryption methods than VPNs. They're scrambling all your passwords into basically unbreakable code.
Unbreakable.
Yeah.
That's a bold claim.
It is. But reputable password managers like TechTalk Nexus mentions LastPass and 1Password.
Yeah.
They use military-grade encryption, so we're talking it would take a supercomputer longer than the lifespan of the universe to crack it.
Okay, well, when you put it like that,
Yeah.
that's impressive. But even if my passwords are, like, locked up tight, it still feels like there's all these other ways that things can go wrong online.
Totally. And this is why TechTalk Nexus spends a lot of time talking about two-factor authentication. Have you used this before?
Yeah.
It's basically like having a security guard standing in front of your password-protected vault.
A security guard.
Yes.
So it's not even enough to just have that super strong, complicated password anymore.
You need a good, strong password, but two-factor authentication is really like adding a second lock on that door. Even if somebody steals your key, which is your password,
Right.
they can't get in without the second lock.
And that second lock being...
It's usually something you have, like your phone.
Okay.
So you'll enter your password like usual, but then the website or app will send a unique code to your phone, and you need that to actually get in.
So even if, say, a hacker gets a hold of my password somehow, they're still stuck because they don't have my phone.
Exactly. They need both pieces to get in.
Smart.
And this is one of those things, and TechTalk Nexus really stresses this. It's one of the most simple but effective things you can do
Okay.
to really boost your security.
So two-factor authentication it is. I'm writing it down.
Yes. Good.
So I'm starting to feel like I'm building some pretty good digital defenses here.
Yes, that's the spirit. And I love how TechTalk Nexus really brings out the sense of empowerment, right? Like you're not just at the mercy of the internet. You have agency. You have options.
I like it. I like feeling empowered.
Yes.
This is making me think about that time that I almost booked a flight on, like one of those shady travel websites.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because I was so focused on getting a good deal.
Right.
It turned out to be, like, totally fake. I almost fell for it. I dodged a bullet. But it made me realize, like, how vulnerable you are.
Yeah, it's really easy to let your guard down, especially when there's something tempting, like a bargain, right? But TechTalk Nexus reminds us sometimes the best offense is a good defense, right? It's about being proactive, thinking ahead.
So we're not just talking about, like, the tools and the tech, but, like, a mindset, too.
Totally. It's about building good habits. Like, think twice before you click a link, especially from somebody you don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Or double check that web address before you put in your credit card info. They're small things, but they can make a big difference.
Yeah, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right?
Exactly.
But, you know, even with the best precautions, things happen. I mean, you hear about these data breaches all the time.
Unfortunately, yeah, that's true. And it's almost like a matter of when, not if.
Yeah.
Which is why TechTalk Nexus spends some time on this.
Okay.
What do you do if you find yourself staring down a data breach notification?
Okay, so let's say the worst happens. My data has been compromised. What do I do?
Okay, first of all,
Freak out.
a little panic. It's natural. But channel that energy, right? Take action.
Okay.
And TechTalk Nexus has a really good game plan for this.
Okay.
First and foremost, change your passwords. And not just for that account where the breach happened, but anywhere that you might have used that same password.
Oh, man. Okay.
It's like if you lost your house key,
Yeah.
you're not just changing the lock on the front door, you're changing all the locks.
Oof. Yeah, okay. That's a lot of passwords to change.
Yeah.
But I get it. Big picture.
Exactly. You want to limit the damage.
Right.
And along those lines, check your bank statements, credit card statements, anything like that, and just make sure there's nothing fishy going on.
Okay, so damage control.
Mm-hmm.
What else? What else does TechTalk Nexus recommend?
Report the breach.
Oh, really? Even if it's... Okay.
Personally, you need to contact the company, the platform, whoever it was, let them know. They might have procedures in place that can help.
I don't know. Isn't that kind of like telling the fox to guard the hen house?
I mean, I get where you're coming from, but it's still important.
Okay.
Because they have a responsibility to address this, and often they're actually legally obligated to take steps to fix it.
Okay, that's a good point. So
Yeah.
report the breach. What about, like, the authorities?
Report it, absolutely.
Oh, really? You think so?
File a report. I mean, TechTalk Nexus is really clear about this. File a report with, like, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center.
Okay.
That way there's an official record of it. Now, it might not get your data back, but it's helpful for tracking these guys down and hopefully preventing future attacks.
So even if I feel powerless, I can still do something.
Absolutely. It might feel like a drop in the bucket, but you're adding to this bigger picture.
Right.
And that can lead to, more effective prevention down the road.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like they say, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph or whatever
Right,
is
right.
for good people to do nothing.
Exactly. And I think what's interesting is TikTok Nexus doesn't just leave you with a to-do list.
Right.
They also talk about using this as an opportunity for learning.
So not just cleaning up the mess, but like learning from it.
Yeah. Take a second. Think back. Were there any red flags that you might have missed? Did you click a phishing link that you shouldn't have? Maybe.
Oh, yeah. I fall for those all the time.
Yeah, it happens. But understanding how this happened can really help you make better choices going forward.
Right. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice.
Exactly.
Shame on me.
And knowledge is power, right? So the more we know, the better we're going to be at navigating all of this safely.
That makes sense. But it feels like with all the stuff online, it's such a moving target.
For sure. And that's why TikTok Nexus really emphasizes this. Online privacy, it's not a one and done kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a process. It's ongoing. You got to stay informed.
Okay.
You got to be ready to adapt.
Oh, man. Okay, so I'm never really done.
Right. Exactly. It's a journey. We're all on this journey together.
So it's more about like staying agile.
Yeah.
Staying informed instead of trying to build, some impenetrable fortress.
Exactly. It's like digital self-defense training, right?
Yeah.
You got to be ready. And just like in physical self-defense, sometimes, the best strategy is knowing what to do after an attack.
Oh, interesting.
TikTok Nexus gets into that, which I thought was really interesting.
Okay. So say a hacker, despite my best efforts, gets through, steals some data. What's in the digital first aid kit?
Okay. Well, beyond the immediate stuff we talked about, changing your passwords, checking your accounts, TikTok Nexus, they had this whole thing about credit freezes.
Credit freezes. Okay, that sounds kind of hardcore.
Yeah.
Is that really necessary for every data breach?
It depends. I mean, they recommend it if it's something super sensitive, like your social security number got out.
Right.
It's basically like a safety lock on your credit report. It prevents anybody, even you, from opening any new credit lines in your name until you unfreeze it.
Oh, so you can't even
You got to unfreeze it.
use your credit card or anything.
Right, exactly.
Wow. So it's like hitting the pause button on your credit just to give you some breathing room to figure out what's what.
Exactly.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it'd be kind of a hassle to undo if you actually needed to use your credit,
It can be a little bit of a process, but honestly, the peace of mind can be worth it.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially these days, right? Identity theft is so rampant. TikTok Nexus actually walks you through step by step how to do it with all 3 credit bureaus.
Oh, wow. They really thought of everything. This is making me realize there's a whole other side to this. It's not just about, preventing stuff, but even after something happens, there's so much you can do to take control.
That's exactly it. That sense of empowerment is so important. Yeah.
And, it got me thinking about the bigger picture here. We've talked about a lot of practical tips, but where do we go from here,
That's a great question. I mean, I love my VPN, I love my password manager, but it does feel like things are constantly changing.
Constantly.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, TikTok Nexus touches on this. They talk about privacy as this kind of evolving idea.
Oh, yeah.
Because what we might have thought was no big deal. A few years ago, suddenly it's like a major breach. Technology moves so fast.
Yeah.
Our ethics and laws are struggling to keep up.
It really does feel like we're always playing catch up, trying to figure out what does privacy even mean anymore?
Right.
In the age of facial recognition and AI, it's a lot. It's overwhelming. But I think TikTok Nexus leaves us with a good call to action, which is stay curious, stay informed.
Okay.
Don't just accept the way things are, ask questions.
Right.
How's my data being used? Demand transparency from these companies.
So it's about being a conscious consumer of technology,
Absolutely.
not just a passive user.
We actually have more power than we realize to shape the future of this. It starts with awareness, but it can't end there. We have to demand better from the companies we interact with every single day, and we have to push for better regulations that actually protect us.
That's a great point. Well, this has been amazing. I have to say, I am feeling a lot more ready to go out there and face the wild west of the internet now.
It's been so fun diving into this with you.
And to everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us on this little journey into the world of online privacy. It's a process that's ongoing, so keep learning, keep questioning, and keep those digital defenses strong. We'll see you next time.